thermal power plant, RO and MSF desalination plants, cement, steel, petrochemical, and other infrastructure projects. Apart from this, he has worked with various leading design consultancy firms across the globe, which includes MN Dastur, DCPL, Kulgian Corporation USA, Consulting Engineering Services India Private Limited, and he was also associated with Kolagat Thermal Power Station. He has also worked as vice president with Simplex Infrastructures Limited. So that is a profile of today's speaker that we have. In fact, it is very interesting to see that we have a speaker who is having a combination of both academic as well as industrial work experience. I am sure that he would be able to give us a lot of insights. And in this era also, even though we are not able to meet face to face, I mean, through this technology, we can share important ideas. In fact, Ramco Cements has been organizing this series of webinars since the lockdown started, and this today is our 46th webinar that we are having. Earlier, we had webinars on blended cements, reinforcement detailing, learnings from structural failure. Then we had program on smart cities. So various kind of topics have been covered, ranging from geotechnical engineering to material to concrete and various other aspects of civil engineering, which was appreciated by the civil engineering community. And we also had collaboration with various professional bodies like Association of Consulting Civil Engineers, Mangalore, Mysore chapter, and we had organized a virtual conference, in fact, on geotechnical engineering. So that's the kind of knowledge sharing that we had during the last few days. I'm sure that this would have been beneficial to the practicing as well as to those professionals who had logged in. Ramco Cements, as all of you know, we have been interacting with project professionals and we have been trying to understand the customer requirement in terms of grade of concrete, the type of concrete that was being used. And based on that, we have customized the type of cement that we are manufacturing. In fact, we have 12 brands of cement, which is customized for a particular application. So what we do first is we try to understand the concrete requirements through a questionnaire, which is given to the project customer or the normal person who constructs a building, and we try to understand how much slump he needs, how much compressive strength he needs, what is the kind of durability he is looking for. Is there any specific requirement like heat of hydration or any special requirement like, say, for example, self-compacting concrete or any special type of concrete that is required, and based on those requirements we recommend the right type of cement. So it is not that we propagate a particular type of cement. What is important is concrete requirement, and then based on the concrete requirement we recommend the type of cement. So that is what the initiatives that we have been taking over the last few years. With that, I think I do not want to stand between the speaker and the audience. Let me invite the speaker, Professor Dr. Biman Mukherjee, Head of Civil Engineering Department, Narula Institute of Technology, take over the presentation and share his experiences based on the civil and structural aspects of coal-based thermal power plant. Over to you, sir, and welcome Dr. Biman Mukherjee for this presentation. Thank you so much for having accepted our invitation.
Thank you, Mr. Pillai. I'm really highly praised by you, and I'm really thanked that you have been considering me as a speaker in this forum. What you have been doing. Anyway, let me first go to the audiences. Good morning to everybody. Where maybe with my colleagues, friends, and definitely my beloved students all over the nation, all over the country who have been logged in and to listen to this, join this program. I am not an expert, but I did some work on this different fields of civil structural engineering, and I just wanted to share some of my experiences to all of you, if that could be beneficial to others. I like to express my sincere gratitude and thanks to organizer of Ramco Cements, who are becoming one of the pioneer cement manufacturing company in India. They are coming up very fast, and their quality control and everything. I know them. They are doing very nice in the field of civil structural engineering. and they have been. This is a nice initiative during this lockdown period. Everybody is inside, so they don't have much of the interaction with the projects or the institutes or the professors directly. So they took this initiative to interact with different eminent speakers who have a lot of experience, lot of potential with them, and they are able to share with the students or the professionals who need some more training or some more knowledge and some more experience, and that can be, that had been addressed by them. That's nice of them, and I definitely would like to express my thanks to, especially to the executives of Ramco who have been coordinating with me for this program, including my ex-student Indrajit and Ivan. Definitely, thank you very much. So now, without wasting time, we should go to the directly to the project, but to the topic. But before that, I must, during this situation, I must say a few words on the present situation, like COVID and this pandemic. Everybody is absolutely fed up and scared with the situation of this pandemic situation all over the world. And at my age, you can understand I'm quite elderly. But even elder than me, they didn't also have not seen a situation like this. So everybody is scared. Everybody is scared, and we do not know. Even the government, even the health officials, they also do not know. They don't have any specific clue for any particular thing. They are trying different things, just like trial and error system. But on definite mode, we could not do anything. So my advice would be to stay safe and healthy. We should follow all the advices given by the health officials, government authorities, instead of going for any exploration or any adventurous initiative. We should absolutely blindly follow the instructions, like wearing this mask. I don't mind. I am in my home, so that's why I'm not with this, because I'm not in outside. So whoever is outside, they must wear mask. Often you wash your hands with soap or hand sanitizer having alcohol more than 70% and like that. And don't try to go for any gathering, don't organize any gathering till things come to a bit of normal, under control. And further to that, I would just request you just take care of your elderly people at your home and surrounding, because they are highly vulnerable, and youngs below 10 years of age. So we have to, as a society, we have to take care ourselves to live. We have to live a lot more. So we should not be get down with this pandemic of this corona. So we have to fight it, and definitely will win. So I hope everybody will go with this, all this, follow all this, and they will stay safe and healthy. So that is my request to the gathering, everybody present here. Now, without wasting any time, now I should start with my topic. Why I chose this topic? So my introduction been given by Mr. Pillai. So nice of him. He said so many things about me. But basically, I am an engineer, like all of you who are here. But unfortunately, with God's grace, I got a lot of opportunity, exposure to do a lot of work. Not only thermal power, I work for cement, paper, steel plant, nuclear power plant, and so many, so on. So there will be huge list of that. There's not point of expressing my what I did. But thing is, why I'm saying all this is basically, from my earliest stage of my career, I just I have this idea that every young engineer, civil engineers, they always suffer with some inferiority complex, that they are only associated with buildings. They are only associated with buildings, preparing 2 stories, 3 story, 4 story. Nowadays, a bit higher for 2040, like community skyscrapers. That's it. So we cannot think that there are things which we need to do. We are the architect, we are the builder of all those infrastructures which are needed for the development of the society. So to give you that that exposure, to give you that outlook, I just was thinking to have something which will give a bit of sense that civil engineers are not only confined with this building work, not within this small few road work. They are associated with all lots of projects, infrastructural projects all over. So that is the area where we have lot of things to do. So to give you I just prepared a small presentation to give you an idea about the thermal power project. And I will start from the um, mm, power itself. What is power? Power, importance of power. Basically, power, what is power? This is, as I am suffering today, I don't have the power now. I am out of electricity now. So this computer has got some charge with it, the battery, and I could do it through mobile hotspot and all. My everything power has gone off. So power is the backbone of modern world. Nowadays we cannot move a single feet, or we can go 1 hour we can sustain. It's difficult to sustain. So things are there that we have to have continuous sustainable power supply, so that everything moves in a right way and normal way. Now that is the essential source for all industrial, manufacturing, commercial and residential consumers around the globe. This is not in India, but also all over the globe. The situation is same. Everybody is requires the continuous sustainable power supply. So now what is power? Power, basically this is energy. This energy, we know this energy is you cannot create, you cannot generate. We say it's a generating plant, we generate electricity. Yes, that's true. But what we do, basically we cannot generate. This is a conversion. From laws of thermodynamics, we know energy cannot create, cannot never be created, or not destroyed. I cannot even destroy it, I cannot even create it. So what we do, what we just basically convert it. So that is whatever plant we see, that is a conversion plant. What is that conversion? I will come next. I just like to give you an idea about the power situation in India. These are all authentic data till end April 2020. Central Electricity Authority, who are the main electricity authority of our country. Say in the central sector, we have 93,477 megawatt installed capacity of power. And state sector, central sector means NTPC, NHPC, like central government undertaking companies who generate power. State sector means state governments has got power development corporation, like MP electricity board. They have MP generating, Madhya Pradesh generating electricity generating board, Andhra Pradesh electricity generating company, West Bengal power generating company, or like in the state sector, they have 1,03,322 megawatt of power generation install capacity. And private sector like Reliance Power, CAC, like other companies in northern and all combined together is 1,73,549. All summed up to 3,70,348. India has got an installed capacity of 3,70,348 megawatt of power generating capacity. So central contribution is 25.2%, state contribution is 27.9%, and private sector contribution is 46.9. Private sector contribution is quite more. Now, with this is a general all together. I mean, power is generated through different sources. So fundamental resource can be different. Based on that fundamental resource, we call it a the name of the plant like that. Like coal based, as I said, thermal power. If it is from water, that is hydropower, like that. So if we just divide it in that category, so with the coal, the power generating installed capacity is 1,98,525. Lignite is not full bitumen. I mean, this bituminous coal is full, not converted to coal. So that has got 6,610 megawatt. Gas with the fuel as gas as fuel is 24,955 megawatt, and with diesel 510. Hydro, nuclear, and renewable. Renewable means renewable. There are a lot of renewable energy also, that like wind, solar, tidal, geothermal, and so many so on. So all clubbed together, that is 370. This is the breakup, and the contribution total thermal is 62.8. Thermal means is coal. I'll just take a pen here. So total thermal is 230 600, and that includes all these. These are all coal, lignite, gas, diesel. Now if we have this is hydro, and this is nuclear, this is hydro, and this is MNRE, that is the renewable, that contributes 23%. So this is the basically the scenario of our uh, this is basically the scenario of our power install capacity. Now in our 12 5-year plan, there had been a plan till 2017. In total installed capacity, we reached, because this is not 2017, this is 2020. So we have 88,537. There was a planning, thermal, all these breakups are there. So these are all data. We need not go in detail all this. Now, non-renewable energy sources, as I said, what are those sources? You can have coal as the fuel, oil as the fuel, natural gas as the synergy gas derived from coal gas, basically clean coal gas, and nuclear. All these together are the non-renewable energy sources, and renewable energy sources are hydro, solar, wind, biomass, geothermal, tidal. These are renewable kind of also. But basically we can see, I just give an example of one plant, because this will be too long if I start describing all this. Basically our point is not to discuss about the power scenario in India. Basically we want to focus on our civil structural aspects of the thermal power project. So we very fast go to that point where we can discuss that. Now what are the pros of coal-fired plant? Why we say this coal-fired thermal power plant is a stable, sustainable plant? And because though we talk about a lot about this emission of carbon dioxide and lot of environmental issues, even then we go for that. That is what I want to describe here. Basically, coal is a fossil fuel burnt in a boiler. Basically, how you generate power, I will come later. Let me just finish the process. Coal is available in abundant quantity in our country. Coal stock is sufficient for at least next 200 years. So we have sufficient amount of coal all around the country. So even we are importing, but that is because of some good quality of coal. We blend it so that we don't have bad kind of ash. So because our quality of coal got more of ash, so that's why sometimes we try to import some coal, good quality coal, and get a better efficiency of the plant. So even then we have a very high stock of coal in our country. So that is one cheapest and easiest available resource, so that we can tap, and we are tapping. And it is a very reliable source of 24/7 continuous supply of power, because you get coal, so you get continuous supply. There is no interruption, there is no problem. Like solar, because wind solar, you know, wind, when you have less wind, calm, then maybe it is stopped. Solar, when you have rainy season, you don't have sun, so there are that kind of things. So sometimes you have good, sometimes you are in a low. So but this coal fired plant is always supply you power continuously. This is comparatively low capital cost investment than nuclear, solar, wind. So cost per unit is also not very much. So that is also affordable, and that is quite considered low. Now this is cheapest, continuous and predictable energy sources. So you have lot of prediction about the whether you get the supply properly or not, what is the megawatt size, and how you can, if you have 1,000 megawatt plant, whether you get 1,000 megawatt or there will be a lot of loss and all that. This is quite predictable. So this has happened because we have lot of these technologies are matured, and we have a lot of experience on that, like plant technology and coal mining both are involved, and we have a lot of experience. So we can say, we can predict properly, and we can rely on this. That is most important thing, that reliability is quite good. Now there are bad things also. As I said, the release of carbon dioxide, lot of carbon dioxide, which has got global warming. That you don't, when you have nuclear, when you have solar, or nuclear has got different other environmental issues, but basically regularly you don't emit this carbon dioxide kind of thing, and you don't contribute this to global warming, and like, you know, as in as in wind, as in solar, like. So that is one bad thing. Another thing, coal has got a lot of sulfur, nitrogen, and also it has got sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, SOx, NOx, we call it, mercury, arsenic, other. So it has got acid rain, which is has a health hazardous situation, and um, most difficult situation is in a coal fired thermal power plant is having huge ash, because that amount of ash you need to dispose. That is the biggest problem of the coal-fired thermal power plant. That is also another environmental issue. So this ash is also another important area where which is not much acceptable for. This is also, you know, you generate power, and that is as a byproduct. But nowadays we have developed, civil structural people knows that we have developed lot many technologies, particularly Ramco people knows how we can use this fly ash in our cement and all. So we try to utilize it. So nowadays it is not that problem, it can be considered as a ash generating plant. So that's quite good. Now another is coal mining. When it does, there will be pollution of water and air surrounding the mine, and all this. There are these things are you have to accept when you have some development. When you have a project like development, you need a continuous power supply, is cheaper, and all this. You have to accept all this, and you have to take care how to mitigate with these environmental issues. And for other fuel-based plants also, there are various pros and cons, which we don't discuss because it will be long time. We just focus on coal-based thermal power itself. Now, I just come to that point. What we do basically, I said energy is just a conversion. Yes, that's a conversion. You don't generate it. So how you generate? Basically, coal, it has got a calorific value. What calorific value means? Calorific value means it has got, when you burn it has a heat value. So it gives certain amount of heat. So that heat will not be same if you burn some timber. That heat may not be same if you burn some huge amount of paper. So that will be different. That depends on the material which is being burned. So coal, those kind of coal which are being used, it has got a definite calorific value. With that calorific value, you just burn it, and you get something. That heat you utilize to. Now this is the conversion. The conversion is the uh, use the medium. You just use the medium water as the medium to convert it. Now, this coal has got a potential thermal energy. That energy is converted to that energy is we try to convert it to mechanical energy. How we do it? We do it through the medium is water. So what we do, we get the water heated, and slowly we convert it from the liquid state to gaseous state, that is steam. And maybe we take it up to the superheated steam because of other issues, so we don't discuss all this here. So with that, we have a pressurized steam. With that pressurized steam and a very high temperature, we continue this to flow to a machine which is called turbine, and that converts basically that utilize that energy which is imparted into the from coal to the water converted to steam, and that is imparted to the turbine, and it makes the turbine rotate. It starts rotating. So what happens? That is the mechanical energy. So all my heat energy is converted to make the turbine rotate and to convert it to mechanical energy. Now that mechanical energy is extracted. All this thermal energy is extracted to convert it to mechanical energy. And when this mechanical energy turbine is rotating, you just couple a generator, which is another machine which converts the mechanical energy to electrical energy. So that generator is coupled with the turbine. So when you steam is blown to the turbine, it starts rotating, and so how much amount of you can generate, that depends on how much heat you can extract, how much thermal energy you can extract from the steam, and that depends on the input level and the output level. And this output level, we have condenser. This condenser will cool that steam to make it liquid. So that transformation, that latent heat again is absorbed in the turbine. So that is also added to the generation of more mechanical energy. So that mechanical energy then converted to electrical energy, and then after that it is a electrical subject. You just through transformer, you have the right voltage to transmit it to up to our home for having a fan rotating, light glowing, and all that. So that is basically what we do. Now, to do that, we have to, when you have a thermal power plant, basically in the coal-based thermal power plant, what we have separate different systems. Different system. That is our civil structure now comes into picture. Now, till now, I have described overall system, how the thermal power plant, what is thermal power plant, what is a power plant, then what is thermal, and then why coal, and what is coal-based thermal power plant. Now, how we get the power, that is also described. Now we can very well understand. So, power generating power, what we need basically what we need, two things. One is coal, that is the fuel, another is a medium, that is water. That is the main things, and other than, and those are all the machines and other systems which makes these things generate the ultimate product. So we have to have a system to have coal from the mine up to the required area, how we utilize this coal. So that is a coal handling. I will come again, I will describe it, how it is done and what it is. Basically, I don't know whether I can do all this within the stipulated time. Anyway, let me try, because I want to show you few drawings also, so that you have a better idea how it is done and what it is. So that is coal handling plant. So this coal handling plant is a huge plant which gets the coal from the mines, and then and prepare the coal to burn in the, where it is burned, it is in a burn in a boiler. So up to that, that is the coal handling system. So we'll describe what we'll come later. Next is, when you burn coal, definitely we all know there will be ash. and that is the biggest nuisance. What you said, it's the environmental issues. That is the, so that ash, what will happen? That is a huge amount of ash, so that cannot happen. So we have to have a proper system to extract this ash in regular basis. Because when you do this burn this coal in the boiler, then there will be continuous flow of ash from the boiler that has to be continuously taken out from the boiler, and that is most important, that you have to have a proper system to handle it so that it does not interrupt the your smooth running of the plant. So that is done in the ash handling. That includes all items in the ash handling system. Will come again later. Now, next important thing, what we said, next important, what the important thing we need, that is water. So water, water is a huge amount of water is required. Basically, it is almost around uh, um, 4,000 cubic meter per hour for a 1,000 megawatt plant. So huge amount of water. So for a 1,000 megawatt plant, you need almost 98,000 cubic meter of water per day. So that is including the cooling tower. And when you have a cooling tower, I will come later. Every system I'll try to describe small, so a bit in a small way. Now we need water. So what is the source of water? There can be, there can be a huge reservoir. Near you have a dam or something, you have a reservoir from where you have an abundant source of water you can for your plant. You can have a river, as like we have in here, river Bhagirathi, where beside the Bhagirathi there are a lot of plants, Farakka and by NTPC, this Titagarh by CESC, and then Southern Generating Plant by CSC, Bojboj by CSC, then Kolaghat for West Bengal Power Generating Company. So there are a lot of plants near the shore of Bhagirathi. So that is a source resource where from you can tap this water, because you need lot of water, continuous water. And now the Sagardigi also has got water from river Bhagirathi also. Now, so this is one area where that water you need for a lot of purpose. One is in this water for the system. That system means, as I said, there's a medium which will be converted from water to steam, and that will be again reconverted to water in the turbine and your condenser. Another thing is that condenser is cooled through a cooling water system, and that cooling water system again cooled in a cooling tower. And this water which is used in the boiler, that has to be treated properly, water treatment plant. So water requirement and water system is a huge system where a lot of structures are there. I will come in a bigger way afterwards. Then it comes to the powerhouse building itself. Powerhouse building means, which is called turbo generator building. As I said, turbine, turbo generator means turbine and generator both coupled together, and a condenser is below that. So that is housed there. Lot of heaters, boiler feed pump. Boiler feed pump is motor driven and turbine driven. Both kind of boiler feed pumps are there. So, and you have coal mill. You have a coal bunker, which is a storage, coal storage bunker is huge bunkers there. So all these bunkers below that, the coal mill are there. So that is a powerhouse building, is a complicated huge building with a lot of equipment, dynamic equipment foundations are there. That is one very interesting and big area for civil engineering to work in. Now next is, there are a lot of equipment foundation. As I said, I put it in separately, that a lot of equipment foundations, those equipment foundations are really very special and very interesting, that like turbo generator, boiler feed pump, coal mill, various fan foundations, even transformer foundations, all like the foundations of equipments. Then there is ESP, electrostatic precipitator, that is for through the, I'll come that there, and chimney. The chimney is also a huge structure for civil structural engineer. And next is the disposal system includes stormwater drainage system. I mean, disposal system means all these wastewater, whatever you want to, after treatment within the norms of the pollution control board, you can dispose of where the point you have to, and the network has to be there, and the stormwater drainage system also, so that nothing is get flooded during the rainy season. That is also to be designed. That is a huge area. And other than that, there are road networks, and heavy traffic and heavy loaded traffic, and other plant and non-plant buildings. So these are fundamentally the area which are included in this. Now, if we start from the beginning again, the coal handling plant. What we have in the coal handling plant? Coal handling plant. First of all, we get coal from the mines. That is in a bigger size, bigger lump coal. So what do you do? You cannot put it in the boiler directly. So what you have to do? You have to take those coal through some system where you have a continuous flow. Those systems are basically, I'll show you in the drawings very quickly. Those are called track hopper. There are wagon tipplers, all kind of thing. Track hopper means it discharges coal continuously or from the wagon directly when it moves over. So basically, it's a track on which the track, wagon is moving, rake is moving. The number of wagons are clubbed together, and when it enters, start the hopper. There is a limit switch. It opens the bottom of the wagon. Then it starts getting unloaded. Slowly, when it gets out of it is almost 2 to 300 meter long. This track hopper, all coal is unloaded within the hopper, and below the hopper, continuously the conveyor moving, which is taking the all dumped coal from there to up to the next point. Next point is what? Next point should be the crushing. You have to crush the coal because you cannot handle all the big size. So that is a primary crusher. That is also on huge area, and the foundation are very very difficult. We have to design that. So primary crusher is there. Then after primary crusher, it is taken to secondary crusher. Secondary crusher, the size is become much more smaller. That from that secondary crusher, a lot of cold storage systems are there. With that cold storage system, ultimately it goes to to those bunkers, as I said, in the powerhouse building, and from those bunkers it comes slowly to the coal mill. And these in coal mill, these are called pulverizer. So in this coal mill, those smaller size of coal are pulverized in the mill. These pulverized coal are charged in the through FD fan output, and with air it is charged in the boiler. Now, from other side of the boiler, this boiler is designed is sometimes is corner fire, sometimes is front fire, sometimes all side fire. So there are a lot of design. We don't go with that. And basically, water is in the boiler tubes, which are hang from the top of the structure, which is having a boiler drum there, and from there all these pipes are hanging, and that pipe makes the boiler wall. Basically, boiler is a structure which is actually hang from a structure, and from the above it is directly hanging with some eye rods and all. So when this coal is fired in the boiler, coal is burned. Coal is burnt, and because of the chemical content of this coal, there are a lot of lumps formed in the boiler. Those lumps are stick to the body of the pipes. So those are scrapped from that, and it falls under the boiler. That is called the bottom ash hopper. And this bottom ash hopper, there is a spray of water in the red hot lump of coal that is sprayed with water nozzle, and immediately it breaks into smaller sizes, and then there is a crusher. It crushes it, and then with water it is transported to a pit which is called ash slurry pit. So it is taken to the ash slurry pit where there are ash slurry pump are there, which actually pumps the water with minimum 1 is to 10 proportion, 10 times of water, 1 times of 1 part of ash that transports this ash to ash pond, disposal pond. Now, what about the upper side of the ash? That is the fly ash. These fly ash content is much more, is almost around 65% of the total ash. And that 65% of ash goes with the flue. The flue means you put air and then ID fan sucks up the air from there. So it sucks all this. So there will be lot of ash in that flue. That flue is passed through a electrostatic precipitator, which actually catches all this fly ash with it, and then it is nothing but statically charged plates, and periodically it got a hit through some cam and all, and then all these ash stuck to the plates goes down to the hoppers of each electrostatic precipitator chambers. So all these clubbed together is a huge amount of ash. That ash is absolutely pulverized and very fine, finer even times than cement. It is taken to a dry ash silo. It never earlier there was no usage, so it was used to get bottom ash and thrown in the ash pond as dump area. Now this fly ash is taken through the pneumatically taken to a silo, ash silo, and stored there. And there are lots of almost nowadays almost 100% of fly ash is reutilized in cement plants, and lot of ash is utilized in concrete making also. So ash 65% of ash generated through coal, this coal burnt in the power plant, that is almost reutilized. So this is basically the whole thing, including those silo and all. This is basically the ash handling. And now this water system, we have how to get the water. Maybe anything reservoir or river or whatever you have to have some intake pump house. That intake pump house depends the shape and size and type. You have to decide based on the requirement and the condition of the river and all irrigation data, river data. So you have to decide with your experience. You have to design, either you do something onshore or you have something well kind of thing within the riverbed. So there are difficulty in designing the well foundation. I mean well pump house, well type pump house, and sometimes in some plant like Kolaghat it was made like that, but ultimately slowly it was choked, there was no water in the well, so they have to shift it to the Ganges itself, because earlier it was on Rupnaran, because this plant was is basically on the shore of Rupnaran river, and Rupnaran connects is connected with Ganges at a place called Gadiara. So now they have shifted their pump house to Gadiara, directly taking water from Ganges. So there are these kind of situations, difficulties are there. So one is a challenging task for civil structural engineer to decide which one and what type of pump house has to be there, and they have to design accordingly to suit the site condition and the requirement of the plant. Next comes the cooling water system and the cooling tower. Nowadays, cooling tower, there can be basically two types of cooling tower, which is very common. One is induced draft. Induced draft cooling tower means there is a fan above the cooling tower, and it actually sucks the air from. Basically, in cooling tower, you can cool the water between the temperature of dry bulb and wet bulb temperature. Dry bulb temperature means even in hot season, if you take thermometer outside and if you take thermometer within a pond or something, water reservoir nearby, that temperature will be different. That difference between these two temperatures only you can cool. So basically, when you hot water you put on cooling tower, and slowly it comes down, and from bottom you just blow the air, surrounding air, it will cool down up to that level only. So it depends on the humidity and other factors. You have to decide whether it will be IDC or natural draft type. Draft type, you see the background of my presentation, those are natural draft cooling towers shown here. So that is also possible. There is no fan, the power consumption is very low. So that is also very popular kind of thing. But designing of that is quite difficult, and you have to have a lot of expenditure, initial expenses quite big. But for induced draft it is quite low, but running cost is very high for you. So these things you have to decide, you have to talk with the mechanical people and other. That you will have these cooling water pump house. That CW pump house also have a lot of pumps there, and that structure is also quite good and quite difficult to understand and design. There are a lot of challenges in there. That cooling water pump house supplies water for the condenser. That is also quite huge. So continuously they need us to run. There cannot be any break or any fault in that. So we have to design properly for the cooling water, those cooling water pump house also. Now this is almost I have done for description, and there are different equipment foundations. Those are difficult but very interesting. So this is a huge area we have in a thermal power plant for civil structural engineers. Now I will just take some time to show you some drawings, and before that I just describe it a bit. What are the, this is your natural draft cooling tower, as I was saying, and this is your chimney. Your chimney, I have not described chimney, I'll just say these are your ash silo, and this is your boiler, and this is your powerhouse. So all these things are decided based on the layout. I'll show you few layouts where you can understand what it is and how it is done. And before going to in there, I'll just try to describe you a small thing, that is chimney. That I said, the flue coming out of the ESP, you have to take it to the, and by that time these ESP nowadays are very quite efficient, almost 99.99% efficiency, so you don't have any particulate matter in the in the flue, so you can just throw it to the atmosphere in a particular height. That height is decided as per the pollution norms. Usually it is still, I think, 275 meter. And when you have a number of plants, maybe two plants together parallelly, you have advantage on that economically, because you will use a lot of common systems for both the plants, so you don't need parallelly double system for both the units, so you can utilize common systems common to both the units, so that can be economic for the plant. So similarly you can have a RCC stack, that is the windshield, which will take the wind load. But basically both the flues from both the plants can go inside, steel flue go inside up to the top, and it is covered with the RCC stack from outside, which is called windshield. So this is also very interesting area. I'll show you few drawings on that. Okay, let me start showing that. First, I will start showing some plot plans. This is a 2 into 660 megawatt plant. Plant. So I'll just show you how it is. This is a chimney, as I said. So if you locate the chimney, this is your ESP, and these are boilers. One boiler, this is one boiler, and this is your powerhouse. Your powerhouse, and these are the transformers. Like, and this is switchyard for the power evacuation. After you generate power, it goes to the switchyard. So this is almost the layout of the power block. It calls right now. Now, if we go here, this is the CW system. The CW system. This is a cooling tower, as I said. Cooling tower. These pipes goes to the condenser here. There is a powerhouse, so it goes to the condenser. Okay. Now this is the CW pump house area. This is the CW pump house. So cooling tower is the outlet from this hot water from this condenser goes to the cooling tower top, and it falls from the top, and slowly when it goes cool from the bottom, it comes out and it goes to the pump house, and again it is pumped to the cooling water. So there is a loss. This is a closed system. You call it a closed system. So there is a no loss of water. So it is a minimum utilization of maximum utilization of water. Now this is water pond. So you have to have some uh, uh, capacity for few days. And these are cold storage kind of arrangement. This is called stacker reclaimer kind. There is a coal stack and then reclaim also it is done. So it is called stacker reclaimer. So it's a coal storage here. Now how coal is taken, I'll show you. This is a water reservoir. This is the ash pond. This area you just see is a huge area, 142.8 acre. It's a quite big area. This water reservoir is 77 acres. So it is almost 10 days storage capacity. So this is this thing now. Coal handling. This is the merry-go-round. Its color is different. I think it is difficult for you to understand. This is the area where you unload coal, and this coal comes from here and unload here, and then it's a track hopper unload here, and then it goes to a circular way that is called merry-go-round. So the merry-go-round system, it is operated. Okay. Now for heavy vehicle, and another thing, this is the I'll just show you the how this is the silos. You can see. I'll make it a bit bigger. You see now the ash silo. So this ash is storage is stored here, and this is the merry-go-round system of the coal. Okay, so you can have wagon tippler, you can have track hopper for both the system. Now we will go for another drawing. This is the Raghunathpur drawing for Raghunathpur thermal power station. Same way, I think now you understand. This is the cooling tower. This is CW pump house. This is the CW pump house, and this is your chimney. Again, I have annotated here. Chimney. This is ESP. This is your boiler. And this is your powerhouse. Okay. And now this is the CW. CW pipes are coming here. CW pipes are connected here and connected here. Both the units. So cool water, cold water coming here, and hot water going out directly to the chimney, cooling tower. Okay, so this is about the general pot pan. Now, if we go to chimney, how it is, just show one drawing. See, this is chimney. This is the chimney. As I said, the flue. This is the flue. One flue, another flue coming from here to here. So primarily you have one windshield, and in that you can have multiple. Oh, here, so I'm sorry. Here it is only single flue. So it has got only one flue. This is the flue. This is the single flue. This one, and diameter of that is 7,650. This flue dia is 7 meter, 7.5, 7.65 meter. So that is the diameter of the flue. So basically, this is called RCC stack. This is called windshield, and this is almost 275 meters, 267, and another 275 meters. You see, as I said, this is 275 meters. So flue is up to that, and here there are drawings where you can see how the multiple flues are there. Let me see whether it is there or not. Yeah, it is. It is. So, so here, same. You have the stack coming. This is the RCC windshield. So you have two flue here going in one this thing windshield. So that arrangements are there are a lot of other arrangements what you have to take care that how to connect these how these are connected. Basically these are all hanged. These are not fixed. Basically these are all hanged from the top floor that float to up to this, then in this float to this, like that. So in between this gap there is a lot of other arrangements. These are all very interesting and fantastic details one has to follow. This is all civil engineering job. So we as we think that we don't have anything to do only other than building. It is not that. We have a lot of things to do. And let me check and show you the TG building cross section. This is turbo generator powers building cross section. Just a small view. This is the AB bay is called. This is the condenser. This is the condenser. You see the condensing pipe. This condenser, these cooling water pipes are coming, and from here it is dumped. So this goes. So condenser, it has got a small pipes where through condensate goes, and the whole tank is filled with cooling water. So it gets condensed, and with that condensed water again pumped by boiler feed pump to the directly to the boiler. So this is the boiler feed pump. This boiler feed pump is basically turbine driven. So you don't have lot of power consumption. Basically 1,000 megawatt unit, you have to have 80 megawatt internal consumption. So whatever you can utilize with the steam tapping from different places, so that makes the efficiency more. Okay, so now here one thing is missing here. I could not show you the coal bunkers. Bunkers are supposed to be, this is AB, BC bay, this is all electrical, and this is deaerator. Deaerator means from boiler feed pump, before boiler feed pump, that condensate goes to here, and all these air bubbles and whatever they are inside, it goes out. And then with this positive head, boiler feed pump pumps directly to the boiler. Okay, so this coal bunker was supposed to be in this bay. It is not in this drawing. So this is quickly. I'll just show you on view of you like it. This is turbo generator. You see. is quite big. There are different stages. High pressure, low pressure, intermediate pressure. The more higher the size of the blade is the low pressure side, and the minimum size is the high pressure side, and then intermediate pressure, and then low pressure. Okay, that is a turbine. Just giving an idea how things are there. There are a lot of pipe and cable rack work all around. So it's a huge thing you have to take care. Now this water package, just I will show you one pump house GA, as I said. How this look like. This is the pump house. If I just rotate it. Is it visible? I don't know. I am trying. This is a 4 bay. That is what I was saying. This is one difficult area. This is quite deep. If you see the section, maybe sometimes it is 12-meter, 18-meter deep. It depends the design. Now there are pumps which are separated from each other, and that separation distance should be decided based on the pump size and pump manufacturer. And now this 4 bay, you cannot put any obstruction, any support here. So this should not have any water leakage. So it has to be structural slab. So now you just see how you decide. And suppose these bays are, if it is a 3-meter bay, 1 2 3 4, this 12 15 meter, this 15-meter span is here. It is quite long. It is almost around the 25 meters. So 15-meter, 25-meter slab unsupported. And in the minus 18 means it is almost around 2 kg of upward pressure. So that this is something that those are the challenges you have to see, and you have to decide accordingly. So these are auxiliary pumps, and these electrical rooms. So this is one this thing of now intake. I just want to give you some idea of the how it is look like. This is intake pump house. So this is one kind of design. How this is the well. Uh, this is the well, and it depends. I work somewhere in Saudi Arabia. There was the intake from the within the sea. We have gone up 675 meters inside the sea, and there was a dolphin which is called, that is this cylindrical kind of thing is constructed with concrete block. And from the top the water goes in, and from here the pipe penetrates to the shore, and this pump house has to be up to that level, because this flow is through gravity. This flow is through gravity. So you have to be, this bed has to be low. Now this water level sometimes goes up, sometimes goes down. So that pump house level has to be again up to certain level above the high water level. Above the high water level. High means high water level. So maximum water level also it has to be above that, because otherwise what will happen, it will overflow and goes in the damage all the equipment. So these things are challenges. Now this is one has to design you have to do, and how you have to execute, how to construct. I was there fully involved in getting things done. So I know my experience, so how it was and how challenging it was. So these are the experience you gain slowly whenever you work anywhere in your career, and you see how things are coming. But don't get stuck up with what you listen to, you have only these buildings to do and small roads and something. You have lot many things. This is just a plant I have shown you. It's a coal based thermal power plant, but I know there are a lot of other plants, lot of cement plant. I worked in cement plant, nuclear power plant. There are paper plant, steel plant is a huge area, huge challenging work are there. So you having this idea, I think you have an eye opener, and you will definitely love to work in big projects and do something in your years to come. If you have any questions or anything you want to my help or suggestion or anything, I have given my email ID here. You can just I'm sorry. This is my email ID. You can just note it here, and you can write to me, or maybe through Rinco, no issue. I will definitely. I'm here to helping out. If it's known to me, I know all this. With all this, I again thanks very much and express my sincere gratitude to this Ramco people and all my friends and colleagues, and particularly my beloved students all over to spend this time to listen to me. I don't know whether this will be helpful to you or not. I try to express within this time whatever I can. And, stay safe, stay healthy. Wish God bless. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a very interesting presentation. And in fact, I'm sure that many of us have got a lot of key takeaways because we hear about thermal power plant, but what goes inside it. And I'm sure that civil engineers have a major role to play when it comes to the foundation and layout of the plant, which was clearly explained by you. In fact, you have brought a holistic approach, integrated approach, and I'm sure that this would create a lot of curiosity in the mind of construction professionals, and they can go and Google for themselves as well as try to find out more details. In fact, one of the attendees had posted a query, which I have again given it to you. Mr. Rao has had a query about wagon triplers. Why wagon tripler is chosen in CHP to conveyor system and is discouraged in recent time, in spite of government power plants have required space.
Yeah.
That is the question. It was posted by Mr. Rao, which I have posted it to you again.
So you think I should try to reply now? You have time?
Yes, sir, please. Yeah,
Okay,
time is
okay,
there. You can. Yeah.
okay. Okay. So basically, Mr. Rao, thank you. It's a very good question. Now, thing is, it all depends on the particular plant, particular location, and the layout. And there is economy also involved, because when you go for wagon tipler, it is quite highly deep pits are required. So sometimes, if you are working on a deep foundations, then maybe you have to think twice going for this. Sometimes we are as I said, any plant, any power plant. I just forgot to tell you about the price, the cost, and all. It is almost 15 to 20% for the civil structural work for any plant, and it is almost 5 crore around for per megawatt kind of thing. Even now, I think it's like that. So with that, even for the foundation kind of thing is also become very important for the layout of coal handling plant or the overall plant layout. So when you choose a place where it is absolutely rocky, there is a lot of blasting required for putting up even in a cable trench. I don't think anybody will like to have a plant there. So even you cannot put in a massy area where you cannot just stand. You just go inside. Even you have to replace all the soil. So basically, this wagon tippler. Choice of wagon tippler depends on if you don't have a length of this 300-meter track hopper, putting up a track hopper. Thing is, primarily you have to understand for a plant, bigger or smaller, whatever, you need a continuous supply of coal. So continuous supply means if you accept that this Coal India or any mining company supplies you, but you are not able to unload it in right time. So today they will give, tomorrow they will not send, because they don't keep their wagons idle. No? So that is your responsibility to make unload those on time. To do that, this wagon tippler or this track hopper is essential to unload those wagons when your coal is supplied through wagons. So now, if you don't have much of a space to have a merry-go-round system, to have a track hopper there, then you have no choice but to have a wagon tippler. But as like if you have a choice that you go for a track hopper instead of wagon tippler, definitely I will say it's better choice to have a track hopper rather than a wagon tippler. It is like that. It depends on the situation. You have to decide with your experience, you will decide the best thing how you can do it.
Thank you so much, sir. Other questions we would exchange through email because we have exceeded the time limit, and it was nice that you have devoted your time for exchanging your experiences in a very small presentation with lot of drawings as well as nice photographs you have given us. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. We are very grateful to you for this,
Thank you.
and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate for your having done this, and in fact we are very thankful to you, and we are very thankful to the team who has been able to organize this wonderful webinar, which was especially to Mr. Anirban Banerjee and Mr. Indrajit Mandal for having coordinated you. Thank you so much, and our IT team for having made this possible, and our host Mr. Suraj Kumar, who has coordinated with you for ensuring that this webinar goes on very well. So with those words, I again thank you and bid goodbye. And before bidding goodbye, let me tell you that tomorrow again we have a webinar at 11 a.m. On plumbing, fire systems, and safety aspect in building, which I am
Great.
sure would be of interest to all construction professionals. So let us keep ourselves engaged through webinars, even in this age of this thing, so that we enrich our knowledge and be positive. As rightly remarked by the speaker, let us stay safe, healthy, and thank you so much. So bid you all goodbye, all the best. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Close this.